Dancer by Vickie Sears. Tell you just how it was with her. Took her to a dance not long after she come and live with us. Smartest thing I ever done. Seems like some old eagle spirit woman saw her living down here and came back just to be with Clarissa. 5 years ago. 5 years old she was when she come to us. Some foster kids come with lots of stuff, but she came with everything she had in a paper bag. Some dresses that was too short, a pair of pants barely holding a crotch, pile of ratty underwear, and one new nightgown. Mine was her third foster home in as many months. The agency folks said she was a sociopathic. I don't know, nothing from that. She just seemed like she was all full up with anger and scaredness, like lots of kids who come to me. Only she was a real loner, not trusting nobody. But she ran just like any other kid, was quiet when needed, smiled at all the right times. If you could get her to smile, that is. Didn't talk too much, though. Had these ferocious dreams, too. Real screamer. Dreams, they were. Shakes the soul right out of you. She'd be screaming and crying, and her little body wriggling on the bed, and her hair all matted up, and her woody colored face. One time, I got her to tell me what she was seeing. She told me how she was being chased by a man with a long knife, and he was going to kill her. He was going to kill her with, and nobody could hear her calling out for help. She didn't talk too much about them, but they was all bad like that one. Seemed the most fierce dreams I ever remember anybody ever having outside of a vision seek. They said her tribe was Assiniboine, but they weren't for certain. What was for sure was that she was a fine, dark haired girl, just meant for someone to scoop up for loving. Took her to her first dance in September, like I said, not long after she came. It wasn't like I thought it would be an it wasn't like I thought it would be a good thing to do. It was just that we was all going. Me and my own kids, some nieces and nephews, and the other children who was living with us. The powwow was just part of what we'd done all that time. Every month, more often in the summer. But this was the regular first Friday night of the school year. We'd all gather up and go to the school. I was thinking on leaving her home with a sitter because she tried to kill one of the cats a couple of days before. We'd had a big talk and she was grounded. But, well, it seemed like she ought to be with us. Harold, that's my oldest boy, he and the other kids was mad with her, but he decided to show her around anyhow. At the school, he went through the gym telling people, "This here's my sister Clarissa. Wasn't no fuss or anything. She was just another one of the kids." When they was done meeting folks, he put her on one of the bleachers near the drum and went to go join the men. He was in that place where his voice cracks, but was real proud to be drumming. He held his hand up to his ear even, some of the time. Anyhow, Clarissa was sitting there, not all that interested in the dance or the drum, when Molly Graybull come out in her button dress. Her arms was all stretched out, and she was slipping around, preening on them spindles of legs that get skinnier with every year. She was well into her 70s, and I might as well admit, Molly had won herself a fair share of the dance contest. So it wasn't no surprise how a little girl could get so fixated on Molly. Clarissa watched her move around, round, around, then all of the rest of the dancers after Molly. She sure took in a good eyeful. Fancy dance, owl dance, circle dance. Even a hoop dancer was visiting that night. Everything was weaving all slow, then fast. Around and around, till that child couldn't see nothing else. Seemed like she was struck silent in the night, too. Never had no dreams at all. Well, not the hollering kind, anyway. Next day she was more quiet than usual, only I could see that she was looking at her picture book and taping the old 1 2 1 2, tapping her toes on the rug with the inside of her head, going around and around, As quiet as she could be, she was. A few days went on before she asked me, "When's there going to be another dance?" I told her in 3 weeks. She just smiles and goes on outside, waiting for the older kids to come home from school. The very next day, she asked if she can listen to some singing. I give her a tape recorder and some of Joe Washington from up in the Lumini Reservation and the Kicking Women Singers. Clarissa, she takes them tapes and runs out back behind the chicken shed, staying out all afternoon. I wasn't worried none, though, 'cause I could hear the music the whole time. Matter of fact, it liked to make me sick of them songs. Same songs come to the end of 3 weeks. But that kid, she didn't get into no kind of mischief. Almost abnormal how good she was. Worried me some to see her so caught up, but it seemed good too. The angry part of her slowed down so she wasn't hitting the animals or chopping on herself with sticks like she was doing when she first come. She wasn't laughing much either, but she started playing with the other kids when they come home. Seemed like everybody was working hard to be better with each other. Come March, Clarissa asked, "Can I dance?" For sure. The best time for teaching is when a kid wants to listen. So we stood side to side, with me doing some steps. She followed along fine. I put on a tape and started moving faster, and Clarissa just kept up all natural. I could tell she'd been practicing lots. She was doing real good. Comes the next powwow, which was outside on a track field. I braided Clarissa's hair, did her up with some ermine and bead ties, then gave her a purse to carry. It was all beaded with rose and leaves. Used to be my aunt's. She held it right next to her side, with her chin real high. She joined a circle dance. I could see she was watching her feet a little and looking how the others do their steps, but mostly she was doing wonderful. When Molly Graybill showed up beside her, Clarissa took a seat and stared. She didn't dance again that night, but I could see there was dreaming coming into her eyes. I saw that fire that said to practice, and she did. I heard her every day in her room. Finally bought her own tape recorder so as the rest of us could listen to music too. Some months passed on. All the kids was getting bigger. Clarissa, she went into the first grade. Harvey went off to community college up in Seattle, and that left me with Ronnie being the oldest at home. Clarissa was keeping herself busy all the time going over to Molly Grayble's. She come home with Spider-Woman stories and trickster tales. One night she speaks up at supper and says, right clear and loud, "I'm an Assiniboine, clear as it can be." She said it again. Don't nobody have to say nothing to somebody who says that, who's to something that proud said. Next day I started working on a wing dress for Clarissa. She was going to be needing one for sure real soon. Comes the first school year powwow, and everyone was putting on their best. I called for Clarissa to come to my room. I told her, "I think it's time you have something special for yourself." Then I held up the green satin and saw her eyes full up with glitter. She didn't say nothing, only kisses me and runs off to her room. Just as we're all getting out of the car, Clarissa whispered to me, "I'm going to dance with Molly Grable." I put my hand on her shoulder to say, "You just listen to your spirit. That's where your music is." We all danced an owl dance, a friendship dance, and a couple of circle dances. Things was feeling real warm and good, and then it was time for the women's traditional. Clarissa joined the circle. She opened her arms to something nobody but her seemed to hear. That's when I saw that old eagle woman come down and slide right inside of Clarissa, scooping up that child. There Clarissa was, full up with music, and full with that old spirit, letting herself dance through Clarissa's feet. Then Molly Graybill come dancing alongside Clarissa, and they was both the same age.